Kevin, let's focus on the federal government. The Trudeau government is going ahead with the clean fuel standards after continuing to raise the carbon tax. Your thoughts on the impact on this on Canadian manufacturing and small to medium-sized business in Canada?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that these are continued cost impacts, will be continued cost impacts for any business. It's already bad enough that the government's put in place the new carbon taxes, which they're increasing April 1st, which of course has an impact on the cost of delivery of goods all through the value chain. And now to change or impose the clean fuel standard, that will also have an increase on the cost of fuel as the manufacturers and distributors and suppliers of fuel are required by law to reduce the carbon intensity of the product. That can only cost more money in the creation and distribution of it. So it's yet another cost. We can call them hidden taxes, if you will. It's a regulatory taking in a way, and therefore a cost increase. And the fact of the matter is any increased cost on business is only going to get passed down to consumers. These types of changes with this greenwashing of the economy that the federal government is going through has a negative cost impact, i.e. a higher cost impact, all of which contribute to the inflationary problems that we already have today.
Absolutely. And don't forget, we also are faced with competing against product that is manufactured outside of Canada that don't have these taxes. So it's kind of a double whammy. But Kevin, I can't talk about the federal government without asking you about the recent stunning revelations of Chinese Communist Party's foreign interference in our election. How will this impact not only Canada, but Canadian investment?
Yeah, the China problem, it's interesting in a way because you and folks who are innovators have already experienced for ages now the competitive disadvantage of competing with those in China. How the yuan has been artificially supported, the lack of environmental rules, no labor laws. These are competitive disadvantages. And in the meantime, China, too often, its government has been involved with the theft of intellectual property, copyright problems. These are all challenges. And now it's come to light that we realize and are paying attention to the fact that the Chinese Communist government is also penetrated into our electoral system and our elected officials. It appears at all levels of government. We've got a mayoral problem, or potential mayoral or alleged mayoral problem in Vancouver, or councillor problem, I should say. And there's a provincial MPP in Ontario who has stepped away from caucus under a cloud of suspicion, and now a federal Liberal MP, not to mention the other 10 federal candidates that were named in the CSIS documents. China clearly is waging a deep war, Cold War, if you were, a soft war against Canada all across, including industry and politics. The money that they put into our public sector institutions as well. We can think about the partnerships with our universities that siphon away our intellectual capital as well. What does this do to capital? I would suggest that it probably only adds to the long list of reasons why Canada is not at the top of the list or anywhere near the top of the list as an attractive environment for attracting investment capital.
Certainly concerning situation, to say the least. Kevin, President Biden had a recent trip to Ottawa. National security was on the agenda. Do you have any insight as to what was discussed?
Well, these high-level summits are so much about just being seen and not doing things. They did make an announcement on the immigration, the illegal border crossing at Roxham Road. That's now been closed. I would argue there was no good reason why they couldn't have shut it down, that there was actually a violation of the Safe Third Country Agreement in the first place. But the good news is they finally closed that down. I guess if there's one semi-substantial announcement, it's a 1-year investment analysis into the energy sector. So although the mandate of the investigation into the energy sector isn't clear, they've signaled that it's going to be to do with the harmonization of so-called green things, standards, tariffs, etc. We'll see what that kicks out. but otherwise, there's the usual announcements of money that had already been announced for NORAD, NATO, and I would argue, I mean, Canada's pretty weak on NATO. Our contributions to NORAD are really late.